What's up guys, this is IWrocker, and today we have a pretty interesting video about probably the most controversial part of this truck and of my build, which would indeed be the 5-inch rough country lift. That's right, this is a year update video. We're actually at about a year and a half, so I've got this lift installed in April of 2017. It is now July of 2018. I'm going to give my thoughts on it, my experience. I'm going to show you the parts and see what condition they're in, and we're gonna give it kind of a rating at the end. So we're gonna have performance, quality, as how it's measured up after a year, how it's held up, price and value, and would I recommend it. So jump into performance right away. So we're talking about a 2015 Ram 2500 Power Wagon here. As you know, the stock suspension is very capable. Basically, the only reason why I upgraded, guys, is because around here in the terrain on the off-road parks are very challenging, and there's a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of objects in the way, such as rocks and logs and ruts with a raised center. So they're very tough, and obviously this truck stock is amazing, and the articulation is second to none. The suspension is just so rugged and complex stock. It's a very good setup. So I'm not saying the stock suspension is not capable. It very much is. My reasoning was I kept getting hung up on especially ruts and objects with the differential covers. They just hang too low stock. I think this truck has very small tire stock, and they need to be bigger. The 33-inch is just too small in this truck. So the reason I got the lift was A, I always wanted to lift a truck, and this was the truck to do it with, and B, I needed to raise those axles up, so I got it lifted 5 inches. That way I could fit 37-inch tires, and the bigger tires would allow me to claw down more and raise up the axles, and thus the center differentials. So that helped a lot, and it's kind of funny. In my experience, my personal experience, this truck has performed better off-road with the lift and tires than it did stock, and that's saying something because the Power Wagon's very beastly stock. Now, if I were to go to Moab or somewhere extremely challenging or strict rock crawling, I don't know, maybe it'd be a different outcome. But I did go rock crawling in the Badlands, which has a rock quarry and a lot of rock crawling, and it seems to do just fine. I mean, this scaled an almost vertical rock wall, at least for a truck, and I thought it did very well. So this suspension has treated me very well in the performance region, and if you don't believe me, there are plenty of off-roading videos on my channel, if I don't already show a couple clips in the corner so you can see it in action. Browse the channel. This truck has been lifted for a year, so there are a lot of awesome clips of it off-roading, and I've never had one thing fail from the suspension since getting it installed. So have to say the performance, 9 out of 10. So if you want to break performance down into off-road, I'd say not 9 out of 10. I mean, it still has a lot of articulation. It seems to soak up certain objects and ruts and hills well, and it just has treated me very well off-road. I've never really had an issue. So it clears everything lifting the truck up, and it's been great, and it's been durable. So moving to performance on road, this truck rode kind of rough stock. It is tuned a little softer than a regular Ram 2500, but it's still a heavy-duty truck. I do have to say the ride felt like it was a little better when I got the lift installed, but as time went on, maybe got worse. So performance on the street is how I like it. I personally like a stiff, rugged truck. It kind of has that bumpy ride, but you know what? It is bumpy. It's not a plush ride like a Cadillac. Maybe your BDS or Pro Comp or AEV, I don't know. I've never dealt with those on this truck. Maybe they're a better ride. I'm not sure, so you'd have to do some research for that. But I wouldn't say the rough country has the smoothest ride, but it is definitely tolerable. And on street manners, the handling is just fine. I can still, believe it or not, take turns decent in this truck. It doesn't really lean that much. Doesn't feel like it's going to tip over at all. So if I were to rate the on-road performance, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. All right, jumping outside now, we're going to look at the quality and condition of this rough country lift kit underneath the truck after a year and a half just about. So remember, this is a year review video. It's actually been more than a year. So this has been through snow and rain and daily driving for a long time, up until literally about a month ago. It's been off-roaded many times, and well, let's take a look and see how everything's held up. I do want to mention, like I said, nothing's been broken at all. I've documented everything. I would have had it on my channel. Nothing has broke at all. I've been very impressed with the durability of it, because this truck is about 8,000 pounds, and these tires are huge. Took this thing to the limit off-road. I mean, it's been on rock, sand, dirt, mud, and I've thrown it around. I mean, here's a clip here. I mean, this thing has just been thrown around like a rag doll, and you know what? It's held up great. So the proof is in the pudding there. And if we get a visual look at everything, so here's our rear shock. Try and get in here for you guys. Okay, we see it's in pretty good shape. It seems to have a few specks of surface rust down there. There's our rear springs. Now may I add that it does use, this particular lift kit for the Power Wagon uses the stock Power Wagon rear springs. So components we have back here are the shock, and down there we have a spacer, so a spring spacer. So that's lifts up the back, and then we have a longer shock to compensate for that. So those are both holding up great. I will go to the other side. Okay, now on this side we have the same thing, and I did notice for some reason this shock over here does have some rust on it. So let me give you a look. Okay, so we got the top, looks all right. But as we get towards the bottom, especially up front, it is you can see it's kind of rusting at the bottom a little bit on this passenger rear shock. So it is something to note. Obviously the spacer and the spring is doing fine in there. I'd say the driver's left rear was fine, passenger rear a little rusty, and definitely something to pay attention to. Up front, we got a little rust on this side as well. This is the passenger side. There's the spring, that is a Rough Country spring as well. And these are the Rough Country radius arms right here. Okay. So I'd say everything's pretty good up here, other than a little rust right there. The rest of the shock looks fine. Spring's good. So kind of interesting, on this side we got a little rust, and on this side we got really barely any back here, and this one is fine too. As you can see, the spring is in pretty good shape. The shock rather is in pretty good shape. This is the spring, the coil spring. It's in good shape as well. And you know, these are stock. Like here's your sway bar end link right here, right there, and that's your disconnecting sway bar, which connects with the motor that is over there towards the top of your screen. Okay, so those are the diffs that used to hang really low. Those are the diff covers that used to hang really low when it was stock and bottom out on everything. And since it was lifted, it allows bigger tires. They're up, so they're about 12 to 13 inches off the ground, depending on your terrain, basically. And before they were well under that. So that was a weak point that got corrected with the lift. So I really am digging that. Quality condition, I'd say, is on this side it's great, and on that side we got a little bit of rust, especially in the rear. So it's kind of interesting how some parts held up great and some are getting a little rust on them after a year and a half. So You make the call there. I will note that the price to replace just the shocks, each shock is only about, I believe, like 60 bucks, so they're pretty cheap. So you know, maybe you could replace them every couple years. The quality on my end is, again, about probably a 7 out of 10. It's not top dog, but it's not garbage either. Rough Country for some reason has a lot of mixed feelings with people, and you know, and I don't mind them. I've never been a big brand name guy where I got to show off with the top dog stuff. I think a lot of people get caught up in brand names and kind of make asses of themselves, spending triple what they could have spent in a build. So you know, for me, it's all about value and having fun. You know, I'm not going to go to the grave with brand name. You know, I'm not going to live any better, really, with a bunch of the best, in my opinion. You know, you can get the same experience for half the price, and I'm all about that. So it's worked out for me. Could I have bought a BDS for, you know, $4 grand? Sure, but I don't know. To me, looks like I lucked out, so I'm liking this system personally. So that leads us into the cost and value. So for this lift kit, it's only about 1,200 bucks for this lift kit. All right. BDS is a great brand, and they have, I believe, a 4, 6, and an 8-inch for this, and they're anywhere from, you know, 2,500 to $3 grand to $4 grand. So they are a very good brand from what I've heard. They perform well, they ride well, and they're pretty durable. So again, if you want to make that choice, go for it. Give it a 9 out of 10, as in the way it makes the truck look with bigger tires. All the way. Love it all the way. Did what I want, stands how I want, has a slight rake in the back, still like a stock truck would, so it doesn't necessarily level it out. In appearance of the actual components themselves, you know, the black radius arms are really thick, much thicker than the stock ones were, so I think those look really cool. And you know, the shocks and coils are silver. They're kind of plain, so that's why I deducted maybe a couple points there. All right, and lastly, we're gonna go with would I recommend it? Well, this one's tough because everyone's different. Everyone has their own stand, and no matter what my experience, no matter what my proof is that it works, other people might hate it for no reason. So I can't change anyone's mind. I can just give you my experience and my opinions. And I think the quality's there. Maybe their quality used to be bad. Maybe their quality's bad on certain models, like different other kits maybe. But their quality for the Ram kits is there, in my opinion. So information for what you will. You know, if you're just going mudding or just going on trails, I think this suspension will work for you. So anyway, guys, I really hope you found this review helpful. Hope you liked my little score system, and tell me if you agree with it or disagree below. It's my 1 year with Rough Country review, guys, so it's held up great. And guess what? Staying on the truck, I don't see a reason to change it out. So anyway, guys, like this video if you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Subscribe if you haven't already, please. And like always, guys, I'll catch you later.